Welcome to Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital, promoting prosperity and harmony to help you flourish in all areas of life. Join in as we explore the motivations and goals of real estate investors and how their ability to invest abundantly has provided them with the time and freedom to contribute to the world in a creative and thoughtful way. Now please welcome your host, Dr. Allen.
Hello, enlightened investors. Happy to be back with you today. Dr. Allen here with Douglas Skipworth, CPA, CFA, and real estate investor. Douglas co-founded 6am Core Collective to help investors buy and manage rental properties. Core 6am employs 150 people and manages 3,000 plus units. Douglas was honored in 2019 as Master Investor of the Year by Think Realty and was awarded Top 100 Alumni Entrepreneur for Belmont University. Enlightened investors, let's get right into it, and let's be inspired by Douglas's story of phenomenal success. Robert Frost penned these infamous words many years ago: "Two roads diverged in the wood, and I took the one less traveled by." And that has made all the difference. So talk to us a little bit about a major fork in the road that you faced that has made all the difference for Douglas.
Wow, that's a great question, and one that obviously we all come across every day with forks in the road, but maybe start with high school English class where we actually read the Robert Frost poem. So as I think about that, probably a fork in the road that impacted me the most, that though I didn't really know it at the time, but it's probably set me on a trajectory, was when I was very young. I was probably 10 years old. And my father, he was an entrepreneur and business owner. He was a photographer, family portraits and business executive. And he took a picture of a guy who he admired in this guy's family. And the guy had told him about what he did with his children. And so my father came home and made a similar deal with me. And he said, "Douglas, you're 10 years old. If you don't smoke," I can't remember all of them. "If you don't smoke, don't drink, don't do drugs until you're 21 years old, I will buy you any kind of car you want." And as a 10-year-old boy, you're much more interested in cars than you are booze or drugs or any of that. And so there was he got me in a deal on an early end of it before it was a real temptation. So for whatever reason, I came to that fork in the road at 10 and had this 11-year goal that I was committed to seeing all the way through. And so as I look back, at that point, from 10 to 21 is half your life or double your life. At that time, at 10 years now, man, I'm 46. 10 years go by like a blink of an eye. But at that point, looking out 10, 11 more years was so long. So to me, to choose that path, I had two paths I could choose. I chose to take the path of to rise to the challenge of my father and persevere and pursue the prize, if you will. And man, the things it taught me along the way about discipline and having a goal and having a long-term perspective and overcoming have made all the difference. To quote Robert Frost, it's made all the difference. I really believe that is one fork that's made all the difference.
It is an amazing decision for a 10-year-old to make. Did you get the car?
I got the car. I did. It was probably 10, was probably Lamborghini, Ferrari, of course, everything growing up. But I was in college when I turned 21, and so I went to school in Nashville, Belmont University, and everybody lived on campus. So I was like, hey, and it made me too practical. I was like, I don't need the car yet, so let's wait till I graduate. So I graduated, and I got a BMW convertible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something else. Wow.
It was really special, man. It was really special.
Bet.
So
Yeah.
nicest, too nice of a car for a 22-year-old, but it was really great for so many reasons. The relationship I had with my dad because of that, and then the relationship with my wife because she quickly took the car when we got married a year later. So many good things came from that road less traveled.
Wow, what a story. So tell us a little bit about, it's nice to talk about accomplishments and things that are going good and right, but all successful people have had to deal with setbacks and disappointments. So talk to us about one of your major setbacks that comes to mind and what How'd you deal with it? What did you learn from it, and what came from that experience?
Yeah, man, these are deep, and I appreciate them. And as I think about them, I try immediately the here and now pop into mind, but I want to think more lifelong to get a better perspective. And this is one, again, that kind of hit closer home to me and what it meant to me. And it hits home now because I have an 18-year-old daughter who just graduated from high school. And we just went through this whole graduation ceremony. We're recording this during the COVID pandemic, so it was social distance and masked up and crazy. But it reminded me of 27 years ago when I graduated from high school, and something that really made an impact. When I graduated from high school, I was an above average student, but not a top of the class student. And when I hung out with a lot of top of the class students and kids and classmates. And when it came to graduation, they got a lot of accolades, both visible, like little tassels and things hanging from their robe. And in the commencement program, their names were highlighted and they got awards and different things. And I did not apply myself academically in high school. And maybe in retrospect, I'm glad I didn't, because that was a moment where I felt like at that commencement ceremony in 1992 that I did not live up to my potential and did not fulfill maybe my God-given gifts and talents. And so being there and, quote, failing in my own eyes put me on a different trajectory going into college and into university and into life after that of, hey, I can buckle down, I can apply myself, I can take some of these lessons I've learned, whether it's in this little bet that I have with my dad or other life lessons playing sports and such, and apply myself to some things academically or work in the future. And if there is, quote, success and there is, quote, failure, you'd think some of that is subjective, but I would think some of the, quote, success that's come since my high school days into college and then post-college into work life has come from that high school experience of seeing myself underperform what I knew I could do, and then making that big adjustment going forward. Trying never to have, not wanting to feel that feeling again of being put on the scale and come up wanting, lacking. So that was not a good moment for me, and it's been very influential since then.
It's interesting that came to you at the time of graduation and you had that insight. And it's one thing to have that insight, but it sounds like it is an insight that really stuck with you, and it impacted you all through college and then through, I guess, the young adulthood and even into middle ages there. That's a significant insight. And particularly for an 18-year-old to come up with that and have that major realization. How did you really not only come to the insight, but how did you really manage to make that a part of your life and really commit to a trajectory of, I guess we'll say, excellence? You say all of that's subjective, but we'll just use that term for now.
That's a good question. I feel like I don't have a couch in here, but I feel like I should lay down because you're getting into the deep recesses of where I've come from. This is great. I think as I've gotten older, I can look back and pinpoint some things as I've kind of grown emotionally and maybe psychologically, spiritually, that I spent a lot of time. Didn't grow up the most self-aware person, but I have spent a lot of time trying to cultivate my self-awareness. And whether that's simple things like personality profiles like Myers-Briggs or DISC or Colby, Predictive Index, Culture Index, Enneagram, there are multiple profiles out there. So I've tried to learn about those and have where I fit in there and how to apply my strengths to that, or what my strengths are and how to then apply them. And so how could I take a situation like that at the end of high school and say, all right, hey, what are those strengths? Where did I not apply myself? Where did I not understand myself maybe? And how could I do that? So it's been a lifelong process. That's, like I said, 18 to 46 is 30 plus 20, 38, 28, 30 years. So it's been a journey, and it's a constant journey. I feel like I don't feel like I'm self-aware, and B, I feel like compared to where I've been, I'm so much more self-aware. One thing we say around here in our business is we're twice as good as we were last year, but we're only half as good as we're going to be next year. So we're always trying to kind of leapfrog where we were.
Yeah, these are hard questions in a lot of respect, and a lot of respect they're esoteric questions as well. But I ask these questions because I think the responses to them are inspirational to viewers and listeners, particularly those who are struggling with issues in their own life. And it's people like you who are leading the way to helping others to discover those ways. So it's not really a therapy session, honestly. It's not.
Yeah, but it's great. If people can get benefit from it, obviously, that's what we're here for. That's great.
We'll talk about where it is. You're halfway as good as you are this year is what you're going to be next year. So talk about where you're going to be next year.
Yeah, so, man, that's, again, a big question just because there's so much involved with family. I look at the roles that I have, the giftings that I have. How can I apply those? And they apply to several roles in my life, in my family life, my church life, my business life, primarily, and there's some offshoots to that. And so our family life's changing a little bit over the next year because we have a graduate and she's leaving. We're in the process of moving into a family home, the home my wife grew up in. So some big changes there over the next year. And then our church, we're part of our church had planted a church a couple years ago, and we're just getting through COVID, and we were blowing and going, and I'm a elder in training at the church and a leader there. And so where we'll be this time next year, we got staff who left, and we're bringing on new roles. So it's super exciting there. But on the business front, because I know that's more where the listeners are, focus on business and real estate services. So we primarily focus on real estate investors and providing them some type of transactional service, even though we try to do it in a relationship. And we have been at it for 15 plus years because it was something we needed for ourselves as we built our own real estate portfolios. But now we are in this business of serving others profitably, and so we want to provide this quality service. Our business it has taken a lot of great shape over the past few years, and we've gotten more structured and organized, and we are just clicking on all cylinders. But we are defining our why and our purpose and how that plays out in the marketplace. So I could see in the next year that being something that takes more of a forefront for us. Are we trying to reach 10,000 people, 100,000 people, 1 million people to help them achieve their dreams and goals? And what does that look like for us? So we're in the midst of kind of an inflection point to an enlightenment to break through to even greater, again, success or greater fulfillment or greater service to humanity, both in the business and in our purpose. So, man, we're super excited about the next year and what all that brings. Even in the midst of COVID, we've had 4 months of this, and it's really been 4 of the best months we've ever had in business. Camaraderie-wise, certain segments profitability-wise, certain segments we haven't had the business we budgeted or planned, but we have gotten innovative and creative, and it's been, so in that sense, it's been very rewarding to go through this challenging time for all of us.
You mentioned your why and your purpose. So talk to us about your why and your purpose.
Yeah, not to be preachy or too spiritual, but I believe that God put me out here on earth first just to know him, to grow in him, and then to go out in him. And so I think a lot about kind of that going out in him. And I feel like I've been given certain gifts of administration and kind of vision and teaching as well as being giving. And so those kind of translate in the business world to vision, kind of strategy and marketing. And so that's the role I help play in our business. But I love to play that role in our church. I love to play that role in some nonprofits that we're able to be a part of. And so my why is taking those gifts that I have been given and maximizing them in the communities that I'm in for God's glory, but also for other people's good. And for, I would say, other people's good, including my own good. So I think that's something that some people lose sight of when they hear about serving others or helping others. It's like that is not a passive or a doormat, let people run over you. That's like, no, that you have gifts. It's capitalism, Adam Smith, like the way we serve. We all maximize and provide for ourselves by serving others. So that's kind of how I view it as my kind of purpose and calling, and making my contribution matter today and maybe multiply into the future.
Excellent. Just out of curiosity, you mentioned the Enneagram. What is
Yeah.
your Enneagram type?
Are you familiar with Enneagram?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you are, you might not be surprised then to know that I'm a 3, which is an achiever.
That's
And
what I figured, yes.
who gets the 3, they're like, this is the person who gets up and exercises in the morning, works all day, and then takes a class at night. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is exactly the kind of person I am. Just to go. My wife, on the other hand, is a 7, which is the enthusiast. And her life purpose is to be fun and have fun, and to God's glory. And I'm like, hey man, we need people like you. So I especially. So yeah, that's good.
We all need all kinds of types, but yes, it's good to have a 3 and a 7 together. Wow, what a dynamic duo that must.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Very forward thinking, both not delving into feelings much, though we try to. It's not our nature, but we try to. But yeah, very forward thinking. What's next? Which has got positives, but as we all know, there's the flip side to that coin that can sometimes pose challenges.
Certainly. That's what I like about the Enneagram. It's a holistic look at personalities, and it's a growth model too. It's not like you're a 3 and so that's in concrete and you're a 3 and no matter what. But the Enneagram is actually a growth type personality indicator. So that's what I like about it.
That's a great point.
Yeah. We are to the end of our show, Douglas. It has been a pleasure talking with you today. And I'm sure that many of our viewers and listeners would like to get in touch with you and get onto the coattails of all of that enthusiasm. Just take a moment here to tell our viewers and listeners how they can get in touch with you.
Easy ways are kind of social media, LinkedIn, or for real estate investors on Bigger Pockets. Those are the 2 places where I play as far as social media goes. Easy to send me an email at douglas.skipworth@6amcc.com. So that's one. Can put that in the show notes or something, and they can track me down there.
We will put that in the show notes. What does the 6
Yeah, that would be great.
What does 6 a.m. stand for?
So 6 a.m. Core Collective, and that's our kind of our shared services company. So we have the different businesses that we've got folks helping us run, and then we sit in a shared service company where we provide strategic and support services to them. And I have a partner in this business, and he and I met and developed our relationship, not surprisingly, jogging at 6 a.m. in the morning, and developed our whole business and friendship. And so we have a little 6 a.m. Core Collective, and that's where he and I sit to help all the other businesses. So
clever name.
Yeah, it's fun.
Douglas, it has been a pleasure visiting with you, and thank you for being on the show.
Oh man, thanks for having me. Great time, Alan.
Enlightened investors, to spearhead your life to time freedom to live abundantly, head over to steedtalker.com and pick up your free guide to passive real estate investing. Also, please take a moment and go to Apple Podcast and leave us a 5-star review. Your review will help us immensely to spread the stories of successful real estate investors whose lives inspire others to passively invest in real estate to live a life of time freedom, to live more abundantly in all areas of life. Enlightened investors, prosperous trails to you until we meet again.
Thank you for joining us on Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital. For more information, as well as access to our free ebook on enhancing your well-being through real estate investing, be sure to connect with us at steedtalker.com. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steed Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine and enhance the humane treatment of horses worldwide. Steed Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. Connect with us at steedtalker.com.